Good evening and welcome to the Hillsborough Town Board of Commissioners regular meeting for November 12th, 2004. I won't read the public charge, which is on the printed agenda, and it regards decorum in meetings. So read that if you need a refresher on that policy. And Sarah, has anyone signed up to speak?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Bill Evans. May I ask what your topic is?
I want to talk about the traffic light at the entrance to Cornwall Hills and Waterstone.
Okay, come on up and tell us your thoughts. So the purpose is for you to deliver the information to us, and if we need to like do some decision making afterwards, we'll do that after.
Yes, sir.
The meeting is over tonight. So go ahead.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor and Council and staff. First of all, I want to say we really appreciate everything that you folks do for us. We're really fortunate to have such a great group of people fighting for our community. So I appreciate that. The thing that I'm here for is just basically to help create awareness of an issue we have on Old 86. We've been before the council many times before, as Mr. English would know. The issue is not a town issue, but what we're here to do is to ask for your help anytime that you have interaction with the state and have the opportunity to bring this issue up. We'd ask that you do that in our behalf. So far, I only know of one accident that we've had at that intersection. It was just a property damage accident. Thankfully, it wasn't. No bodily harm was done, no one was killed, but we're just praying that it doesn't happen. So anytime that you can be ambassadors for us with the state, we would really appreciate it. So thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you very much. And if there are no more comments, I'll take just a minute for a point of personal privilege to acknowledge the passing of Wesley Wood of Dual Supply on Sunday. It came as a surprise. We didn't, find out about it until almost a whole day later. So we were thinking about all the contributions Wesley and Dual Supply has made to Hillsborough over the past 75 plus years. So our best wishes are to Wesley's family, and we support them. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Move to approve is presented.
Thank you, Kathleen. Sure. Thank you, Rob. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. What is the role of the board?
Move to approve is presented.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Evelyn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And on to number 5, the regular agenda. And the first item is a request for traffic calming measures on Rainy Avenue by Fairview Community Watch.
I'm gonna get us started. Hi, thanks for having us, everyone. As you know, there's been concerns about speeding and the safety of pedestrians on Rainy Avenue, expressed by the Fairview community and others for many years. Rainy Avenue, I'll remind you, is a town road. The speed limits that are posted there is 25 miles an hour. Several years ago, you'll remember that we installed center lines down the road, hoping that that would sort of narrow the view of drivers and narrow the lane. And unfortunately, the center lines don't seem to have worked as we had hoped. 50% of the vehicles are still traveling 8 miles per hour or more over the posted speed limit. 15% of the vehicles, which is the 85th percentile, are traveling 13 miles per hour or more over the posted speed limit of 25. The Fairview Community Watch has also been working on traffic calming in general and connectivity and safety in the neighborhood for many years. You guys have received in the past their Activate plan, which goes into quite a bit of detail in terms of traffic and pedestrian connectivity and safety. They have also been doing community engagement and planning events, over, I think, 6 community workshops over the last couple of years, which I'll let them speak to, that is specific to traffic calming in the neighborhood and generating recommendations for improving the safety of pedestrians and also motorists in the neighborhood. So in your packet tonight, you do have a memo from Fairview Community Watch and a letter supporting the memo. You also have the traffic calming policy and traffic studies that we've conducted recently before and after the center lines were put into place. I will let the residents speak for themselves, but I'm here to answer questions. Tonight, you will hear from Judith Alvarado, who's a Fairview resident, project manager with UNC Food, Fitness, and Opportunity Research Collaborative, Mrs. Fannie Mills, who's a Fairview Community Watch board member, and Kevin Giff, who's a Fairview partner and project manager with UNC Food, Fitness, and Opportunity Research Collaborative.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Good afternoon. My name is Fannie Mills. I am a member of the Fairview. I have been a member of the Fairview community for 58 years. I am incredibly grateful for the continued support you have provided our neighborhood. Our collaboration with the UNC Food, Fitness, and Opportunity Research Collaboration, this is fourth, has highlighted significant safety concerns on Rainy Avenue, issues that have been persistent for many years. With your help, we aim to implement traffic calming measures, including a multi-way stop, radar speed signs, and speed bumps to protect our residents and those who have come through our community. These measures are especially crucial for those without access to transportation, who rely on safe issues to research essential destinations like Fairview Park, the Dark N. Johnson Community Center, and a nearby bus stop. We hope to prevent major incidents by acting now. Your support is invaluable, making Fairview a safer place for everyone. Thank you all for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Town Board Commissioners and Mayor and town staff. Firstly, I'd like to extend our heartfelt appreciation for the incredible support you've already provided to our community, particularly with our community center. Your commitment has truly made a difference, and we are very grateful for that. Today, we seek to continue this partnership to make our community safer for everyone, whether they're walking, biking, or using other means of mobility. We've been working closely, as we mentioned, with UNC Fork in collaboration with the Fork Fairview Community Watch and our dedicated community members. Together, we have led over 8 traffic calming workshops, conducted door-to-door outreach, developed the Activate Plan with the Fairview Youth in Action, who a couple of our youth are here too. We also organized the Walk Fairview Day for 4 consecutive years. We have promote road safety awareness. This evening, we are pleased to present 65 signatures from community residents and partners, and with nearly 100% of those residents residing on Rainy Avenue. The speed study, as Stephanie Trublett has mentioned, this still shows that there is a lot of speeding on Rainy Avenue. This process has provided us with valuable insights into the challenges and priorities faced by our residents. Additionally, we have collaborated with the Public Works Department, the Public Spaces, and the Police Department. Special thanks to Stephanie Trublett for all of your instrumental role in developing these recommendations. However, and we also appreciate the enforcement efforts by our Police Department. We do believe that incorporating additional tools and measures will further enhance our overall safety and help foster stronger relationships with our law enforcement officers. A significant concern within our community is the limited access to transportation for many of our residents. The area where we're requesting the traffic calming measures encompasses key destinations, as Ms. Fanny had mentioned, the Fairview Park, Community Center, and a bus stop. These locations are essential for both our residents and our visitors. Your support in approving these traffic calming measures will not only address current safety issues, but also ensure that our community continues to thrive. Thank you for your time and your consideration, and we look forward to your response.
Thank you very much.
And I just want to emphasize our really deep gratitude for really everyone in this room that has supported, come to Fairview events, helped Fairview navigate, our goals of safer streets and more vibrant places and, better parks and ways that we can connect, and really appreciate everyone here. And, after this multi-year process, we're excited to bring this proposal to you. We've listened to the community, we've had meetings, we've met a lot with town staff and departments. We've consulted some researchers around traffic calming, tools. And we really come to you today with a petition in our memo to urge you to take action. We are requesting immediate safety improvements to Rainy that includes a multi-way stop, a radar speed sign, and speed bumps to protect pedestrians, reduce speeding, and create a safer environment for everyone. And in the longer term, we propose installing a sidewalk that would connect the Dorothy Johnson Community Center to Fairview Park. And that would, further support accessibility and safety for all. And these recommendations are grounded in thorough research and really have garnered strong community support. We believe our solutions really align directly with the town's Vision Zero goals and recent town sustainability plan. And really support those and uplift those plans for promoting safer streets for all walkers, bikers, and drivers, and fostering a healthier and more connected community. We really appreciate and your support. And we do have the signatures here today. We've collected over 65 signatures, and we were able to get a good majority of folks on Rainy and the kind of impacted area for the traffic calming petition. I do have copies if anyone wants copies of it. I'm happy to pass that around. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And let me just on behalf of the board say thank you so much for such so much due diligence and attention to detail and persistence in calling out the need in Fairview and working with our staff, multiple departments and our staff to help articulate, what the problem is, measure the problem, and then present solutions. So that is like, in terms of community involvement, this is the gold standard for effective and meaningful work on your behalf to help bring to our attention what your needs are and make recommendations. That's like really the cool part, is that you've come up with all these recommendations as a result of your hard work. So what I'd like to do is kind of go around the room and ask who has questions for you and as well as for Stephanie. And then I'm sure that we will have I don't think it'll be too long of a discussion because this is great. So I'll start with Kathleen.
Y'all, I'm just so dang proud of y'all. I've always said, if you want to see the gold standard in community, it's Fairview. And once again, you have taken that beyond and beyond. So, but I'm just so proud that you're part of our community. I do have some questions, and it's primarily Stephanie. Because on the speed bumps, because I was noticing things about motorcycles, and I have some concerns because I can see, given the popularity of motocross, that speed bumps could actually be seen as an attractive thing. Oh, goody, we got to go even faster. Have y'all seen any of that? Do you feel that there's any risk of safety from that standpoint?
Yeah, that's a good question. So speed humps have changed a lot over the years. From when I was young, they were just the little bumps, like I think of University Mall parking lot, right? And those were definitely fun to like hit as fast as you could on your bike or your motorcycle and see if you could catch some air. In the town of Hillsborough, whenever we install roadway or sidewalk improvements in our right of way on town streets, we use NCDOT standards. And the NCDOT standard for a speed table or a speed hump is only a 3-inch rise. And that the reason that's the standard is that it doesn't slow down emergency vehicles who are responding to 911 calls. And so they are painted with thermoplastic, reflective paint, so you can see them at night. And they're much like the speed tables you see on Exchange Park Lane. Those are NCDOT standard tables.
And are you seeing that they're effective though with the big SUVs? Because it seems to me with the large SUVs, it'd be nothing.
They're one way. I mean, there, if someone wants to
I guess
speed, they, right.
I guess where I'm going to the next question is, are they more effective than some, maybe the chicanes and cost differences? Cause I'm really trying to wrap my head
Yeah.
around of how can we structurally slow down those speeds in a way that doesn't encourage, the opposite behavior, or worse, it's not, we do that and it's not effective.
So a chicane, if for anyone who doesn't know, is when you narrow the road by bringing the curb in. And where you usually see that, if you think of like residential neighborhoods in Durham, they've done a lot of this. And it's when you have a lot of cross streets, you basically bring in your curb when you're getting close to an intersection. So you have to slow down to come to the stop sign. The problem on Rainy is that it's a long straightaway with very few intersections. And so a chicane is not a good treatment in that situation. And we don't really have any width to give because it's only a 2-lane road, right? In Durham, you have a 2-lane road with parking. And so what you're doing is you're getting rid of parking spaces and narrowing that curve. We don't have on-street parking on Rainy, so there's no way to bring the curb in.
So
We
we
also
can't
don't
do
have
that.
curb on Rainy. It's a non-curb and gutter
Cause
road.
I've seen it just without the intersections, and where, I've experienced, it's like, yeah, you're gonna slow down, and it just seemed to be that it would not impede emergency and would not encourage the worst behavior, but.
Oh, just a quick, I have a large SUV that I try not to drive very often because it gets horrible gas mileage. And when I go down Exchange Club as I did tonight, I slow down.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
I do think that speed tables are effective, which is why they're allowed. DOT does a lot of research and Federal Highways does a lot of research. It's not necessarily gonna stop everyone from speeding in
Right.
between the speed tables, and you get some people who are just,
yeah, well,
gunning it for that type of reason, and that's when enforcement becomes one arm of this type of strategy. But I think what the Community Watch and the Fairview community, which it's so awesome to see everyone out here tonight, are trying to do is kind of pick several ways to just enhance the pedestrian visibility and to slow speed. So the the 4-way stop sign at Terrain, that is something that Dustin Hill, our Public Works Manager, and I feel is very strongly needed because of that long straightaway. And normally stop signs aren't used as a traffic calming measure. They're used for volume control, and that's how they're intended to be used. But they do oftentimes also result in sort of breaking up that speed pattern. We installed stop signs on West King Street a couple years ago that have been very effective. We also did some pavement markings to narrow the corridor there. And I have heard, personally, I've heard nothing but positive comments about, that project we did. I think that this is a similar situation where you have a long straightaway where people sort of gun it, once they come off of 70,
well,
similar
I
to
mean,
West King.
to me, the stop sign's a no-brainer. I mean, it's certainly, speed sign, if we could even reduce the speed to lower. Again, to me, it's a no-brainer. My real concerns was on the speed tables, and I want to make sure that our equipment, that our staff is happy with the equipment, we're not going to degrade it, and that it doesn't have the opposite effect. As long as it's not having the opposite effect, it's like rock and roll. Get
Yeah.
it done.
I will say, I think it was Mayor Tom that used to say we're a town that likes to try things.
I'm willing, let's put it this way, I'm willing to, but like.
Right, we're opening the toolbox to see what are all the things that we can try that have been shown effective in other places that could be effective here.
But like I said, I wanted to ask a couple of those to make sure, in what I envisioned on the motorcycles, because I could see that being an attractive and ironically having injuries from the motorcycles, and that we don't want to do either, so. If you're comfortable that that's not the case, like I said, rock and roll.
Thank you. Do you have any other?
No more questions.
Okay, thank you. Rob?
I just want to applaud you all for again showing up like you always do. And the multifaceted approach that you are kind of taking here. So it's not just speed humps, it's several other kind of traffic calming things. So I think your proposal is very well put together, and I really appreciate, the time and the energy and the thought that kind of went into it. I had a similar question that Kathleen had in terms of maintenance. Is it, I mean, I assume that Dustin has no issues with maintaining that road at speed humps, similar to, I guess, the Exchange Club and our.
Yeah, we have to be careful with plowing with speed humps. I mean, I don't think that we try to not overuse speed tables because they are expensive to install. And we do have to be careful, with plowing with speed humps, but it's just something that our guys would have to learn to sort of raise the buckets when they're coming over them. And yeah, Dustin assures me that if we use the NCDOT standard table, that's something that can be done.
Is Exchange Club state road? I mean,
It's a
town road? But those don't have the reflective thing you referred to, right?
They have arrows pointing to them.
Oh, before, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, which I find those arrows to be really helpful because there's some neighborhoods in Carborough that have speed tables but don't have any arrows and you can't see them at certain, have y'all ever hit those? There's one that's like a major cut through in Carborough and they surprise me sometimes and I catch a little arrow on those every now and then. But yeah, no, the reflective paint is really important to kind of highlight that it's there. There's also required NCDOT signage that goes along, noting that there's a speed pump ahead or speed table ahead.
The traffic radar device or whatever, are you thinking that it's a temporary thing? Is you think would be a permanent thing? What's the thought on that?
We've installed one permanently on North Churton
Yep.
and it's been helpful, I think. We had talked about maybe just starting with one facing south for traffic coming into the neighborhood because the radar signs are also expensive. And so just trying to be realistic in terms of, finding budget for this, starting with one sign and seeing if that helps. It could always be moved if all the speeding and rainy goes away and we want to move the sign somewhere else, that can be done. They are solar powered.
What was my other question? I had one more, but I don't think I do, so great job.
Thank you, Rob. So this is fantastic. I'm in favor of all of this. My only questions are about funding. Is any of this contemplated or gonna be fit in with the existing budget that we're in? Or is this something that is so expensive, we might need to plan for it in the next budget cycle? Can you just address some funding mechanisms?
Yeah, I think for sure the stop signs could be installed this year in existing without even having to move money around. There's money in the budget for that kind of thing. If the speed bumps are warranted and we're talking about 3 of them, what we'll do is get quotes and then Dustin and I will have to look at our budgets and see what's remaining in the year to see if it could be funded, or we could do a budget amendment to move money from somewhere else to fund it this year, or we could look at it as a budget priority for next year. Next year's right around the corner. By the time the holidays get through and then we make it through, the budget retreat, all of a sudden you guys are adopting a budget. It comes up pretty quickly. And I think that the Fairview community is really just hoping that the projects become prioritized, not expecting necessarily for everything to be installed before the end of this fiscal year. Am I right? Yeah. So I think we would get to it if we could very quickly. I think the sidewalk component, which is a longer range recommendation in their memo, the sidewalk is obviously a very expensive project, and we would need to sort of start slow and look for opportunities for funding outside of our general fund budget. I think that there's an opportunity that we could use some Orange County transit tax money for design and installation of the sidewalk because there is a bus stop at the community center, and of course it would be connecting to an Orange County park. And so transit tax money may be available for that sidewalk. The sidewalk is, if you look in the comprehensive sustainability plan, there's a sidewalk recommendation all the way to 70. The portion of the sidewalk that the Community Watch is specifically asking for is to connect the existing sidewalk, which terminates at the intersection of Terrain and Rainy, to the community center. So that's about 1,200 linear feet. And it's 5 feet wide.
That sidewalk and train goes all the way up to the proposed stop sign?
Yeah, almost. it kind of stops right before the corner, and there's no handicap ramp there, which I'm still scratching my head as to how that sidewalk went in without any handicap ramps, but it was a while ago. We would need to put ramps in, obviously, we would want to put ramps in, and then kind of wrap the corner and go up. So if you're talking about 1,200 linear feet, 5-foot sidewalk, that's 6,000 square feet, that's under the threshold for stormwater permits, which means it could move quickly, but we still have to get stream buffer authorization because there is a stream near the community center and we would probably be within that 50-foot buffer area. So we don't permit our own stream, like for town projects, we have to get state permits for that, which means fully engineered plans. So we would need to, first design the sidewalk, then get permits, which as you guys know, takes time. And then we would, bid the project out and hopefully get a competitive bid, but it is a more expensive project. But I am feeling very confident that we could work with Nish Trivedi at Orange County to, submit a project sheet and potentially get the project funded with Orange County transit tax money.
Thank you. So that's probably at least a 12 to 18 month kind of thing.
I would- yeah, that's about right.
Design and.
You're hired. You're the, yeah, I need some help, Mark. 12 to 18 months is exactly right.
Mark, can I ask?
Please.
So if we were to use transit money from that, would that take away from some of these sidewalk planning or some of them, you were talking about doing the transit money with, Ridge Walk, would that be taking away from that?
My understanding is that Nish feels very confident that transit tax can help us on all of our priorities that tie directly to the goals of the transit tax,
Oh,
which is.
hot diggity dog.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have my fingers crossed. I don't know for sure that's gonna work out, but I also know that Ridgewalk is not around the corner. Ridgewalk is years out, so
Right.
we have some time to build up, and there's still some transit tax money even from this year that's available. We may be able to do an amendment to get money for design, move forward with design this year, and then do a project sheet for next year. Matt and I have already talked to Nish Trivedi about this particular project, because I wanted to be able to answer these questions about where's the money gonna come from tonight. And Nish felt, very confident that we should at least try.
That is a whole lot better news than I expected.
But I will say, even though our comprehensive plan suggests that it go all the way to 70, if we add that into the same project, it really does change the cost and the permitting. So I would have to think about that a little bit. The calculations I did in my head were for the portion specifically from Terrain to the community center. And we don't have a sidewalk on 70 to connect to, and so then that changes whether or not I can get funding for it as well. So
Yeah.
it's a little trickier to get out to 70 than it is to connect the park to the community
Would it
center.
help us with 70 if we had that with DOT?
I don't know, I'd have to ask. Yeah, but once you get, probably what would happen is that if we built a sidewalk from Terrain south to 70, we would have to terminate it before the NCDOT right of way, so it would stop,
Yeah.
if that's 100-foot right of way there, so it would stop before you even got to 70, because we wouldn't be able to put it into the right of way, because there's nothing to connect to.
Right.
So yeah, that's when the regulations get a little ludicrous, but it is in our comprehensive plan as a recommendation, and it may be that if we could focus on one portion first and then show some success there, maybe we could build momentum for a future project, to connect to 70.
I was just thinking if that could add more pressure on DOT on just getting that 70 sidewalk.
I think the only thing that's gonna bring a sidewalk on 70 is a roadway project. We'll just have to get in line and wait for the roadway improvements, yeah.
I'm sorry, anyhow, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm obviously aligned with everything that's here and would definitely support prioritizing everything and asking you to come back to us as with any progress reports, or if you need something in funding, in addition to funding,
Yeah.
just let us.
There is one more thing I wanted to add, if you don't mind, which is we would be doing a curb and gutter. There's two options for sidewalks in DOT standards. You can do a back of ditch sidewalk, like what you see over by Leland Little. Or you can do a curb and gutter sidewalk that is just adjacent to the roadway. We have enough right of way to do curb and gutter, but not back of ditch sidewalk in this situation. So, and actually to do it on the backside of the ditch, we would be further encroaching into the stream, and into some sort of marshy, maybe unsuitable soil areas, as well as cutting down a whole bunch of trees, which on Orange County property, which they probably wouldn't agree with. So a curb and gutter sidewalk makes the most sense here. And then talking to Terry Hackett, our stormwater manager, he was very excited about the prospect of using some new innovative green infrastructure rather than putting the water that's running down the curb into, you know, a box and then into a culvert. We could use either flume designs to run the water through the sidewalk or some sort of shallow box designs that they've used a lot in Arlington, Virginia, that allows the water to daily light into the existing ditch behind the sidewalk. And then we could do like a linear rain garden or bioretention sort of area to kind of help treat that water before it gets into the stream. So if we want to work in some of those more green infrastructure ways to deal with stormwater there, we could also potentially use some stormwater funds because that would count as credits towards our Falls Lake requirements.
Could we do what they do in Ann Arbor where that's zero curb? What we saw.
Does it run across the sidewalk, the water? Does the water run, that's not allowed in North Carolina. Yeah, that's not allowed in North Carolina.
Okay.
I don't know why they would do that in Ann Arbor because that stuff freezes on the sidewalk, but
All I can
unless
say,
it's at a like super cross slope.
all I can say
Yeah.
is the residents there freaking love it.
Okay, well, I'm headed to Ann Arbor in 2.5 weeks, so I'm gonna check it out. But the deal,
Look for the,
Right.
look for the Target store that looks
Sure.
like a theater. That's where it is.
okay, I'm gonna check that out, because I've often wondered why it's not allowed in NCDOT standards to have an on-grade crosswalk like we do on Beckett's Ridge Drive. Beckett's Ridge Drive has an on-grade sidewalk, but that's not allowed anymore. It would have to have a curb
Okay.
in it.
Thanks, Stephanie, Kathleen. In the interest of time, I think
Yes.
we need to move on.
Sorry,
Sure.
thank you.
Matt?
Yeah, so I think that the recommendations that the community is offering, I think, really looks stellar, so thank you. I went back and looked the last time we considered a speed table in particular which was back in October of 2019 on Bellevue. We got a lot less information. Back in 2019, the estimated cost for a speed hump was approximately $6,000. Of course, it hasn't gotten cheaper. But I think that, you know, looking at the traffic study, the fact that 90% of the vehicles definitely go over the speed limit, 65% of them are 8 miles per hour or higher, is troubling. So I would, and my suggestion would be to direct staff on moving forward on installation of a speed table and how we would pay for it. And I think stop signs also makes a lot of sense. And then working with county to figure out, you know, on the sidewalk portion, how we could possibly. I think that's a longer question because it involves another agency partner, but begin the steps of identifying how we could possibly make it work with transit tax dollars.
Thank you, Matt. And Matt, are you saying you don't want the digital radar?
I'm ambivalent about the digital radar. I think whether or not there should be a permanent one there or attempt, because I know we moved them around town. Don't we have one that moves around town?
We have a portable sign, it's entirely different app.
Okay, I just remember there was one on Cates Creek at one point.
Yeah, we've got the one on North Curtin Street, and we've got the one out on 70 now that are
Okay.
permanently mounted.
Okay,
And I don't have any idea what would be involved with relocating those.
well, I'm ambivalent towards the radar sign, but
Thank you. Megan?
I'm gonna start then, I guess, with the radar since you're just finishing up. I think maybe Rob had the same question, like, was it temporary or was it permanent? If all these other calming measures work and we don't need it, can we move it easily enough? That was something that came to mind as I went through this. The other question I had, I think most everything was covered except for, so while I was in Wisconsin and Madison, Wisconsin, every day I drove around a mini roundabout, which was like about the same size streets as we have in Fairview community. And just wondering what about that, popping that little tiny mini roundabout in the middle of that intersection? Maybe in conjunction with the stop signs or in place of the stop signs, but it was nice. It had plantings in it and all that. It was just a nice little way to welcome to the neighborhood and also slow down. So it was just, anyway, that was one thing. And then the petition for it, what exactly are the rules for that? Like if Kevin already has like 90%, is it just Rainy Street that needs to sign off on that, or is it like more?
So they went above and beyond, and they went through this really clearly. They got almost 100%, and if they had until tomorrow, I think they would have gotten 100% of everyone on Rainy.
Okay.
So, and that's what our traffic calming policy suggests, not 100%, but I think it's like 65%. So
Okay.
they
So they
met our
checked that.
policy.
Okay.
But then there was so much support at the Fairview Community Watch meetings that they've been at, that they went beyond just the Rainy area and got a lot more signatures from other community members that are also in support.
Okay, so it looked like, so all of the items in our policy have been checked off, like, I wasn't quite sure if the speed one was exactly, like, is it just up to us to say, yes, go ahead and do this, or do they have to also meet? The
the only-
speed one was actually,
Yeah, I was
wasn't exactly.
revisiting that today, just to make sure. The only one that I don't have confirmation of is number 6 on the policy, which is just having EMS and fire sign off as well.
Mhm.
We would, just to make sure that we're meeting the policy, I would, before we moved forward, want to make sure that we reached out to EMS and the fire department and let them know what was being planned and make sure that they're comfortable with the standard. My understanding is that the standard is approvable. Chief may know more about that. It also in the policy suggests that the Hillsborough Police Department is also comfortable with the design, so we would need to just sort of certify that our first responders are comfortable with, especially the addition of the speed humps, I think is the thing that slows, at least imaginarily slows response time, so.
Oh, which I will add the mini, traffic circles. I've also seen them with actually no plantings, which isn't as pretty,
Mhm.
but it allows emergency vehicles to make probably a 3-inch jump over them.
Yeah, I will say that mini roundabouts, they are really fun to drive. And they do work. They would be a whole different level of expense
Mhm.
that we would need to engineer and cost out. Many thousands more than what we're talking about.
Looks so small. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Evelyn, do you have any questions?
Not really, I don't wanna say a roundabout. People might get confused about that. I would start with this, something that, well, you've already started with many things. But I would go to the next level, I would sort of go up and not take the highest. If you know what I'm saying.
I do. So it's maybe start with the stop signs, work our way to
Yeah,
getting
and
the
then go
speed
up,
humps,
but
and then
you get
see
up
if a
to
digital
something
radar
high,
sign
it
is still
doesn't work,
needed.
then you spend all that money. So I would take a little bit of time.
I understand, and honestly, from a capacity issue, that's probably how we would have to do it anyway, it wouldn't all
Well,
happen
that's-
under the
that's what
same
I figured, that's what
contractor,
I
yeah,
figured, But I wanted to stress that.
that's right.
Eric?
Want to ask a couple questions on the speed humps. I see that at least the southern part of Rainy Avenue is scheduled for repaving on the repaving list. Is that correct?
Terrain crossing Rainy is scheduled for repaving. Rainy itself, which I don't believe is on the list. I could be wrong, but.
The map showed from going from 70 to Torrane was red. So my reason, even if it's not on there, the reason for asking, like, that's the ideal time to do it. I know we've got the bids out now, so I don't know whether that could be an add-on to the contract with the existing contractor, or we would need to bid that separately because somebody specializes in it. Is it gonna go either way, or?
So we're also gonna look at rubberized speed tables for this. They're lower cost to install, they're easier maintenance, and if there is like a snowplow incident.
Okay.
They're easier to repair and replace, so. We will look at doing it at all, as you suggested, but we're also looking at doing a rubber installation here.
Okay, yeah, just really always looking for an opportunity to bundle and cost save. And the other one is on the 4-way stop. I'm assuming we'll have to come back with an ordinance change that'll add it to the ordinance, and that could be consent agenda item, as long as the board directed. So.
That's right. Yeah, mostly tonight, what we needed was just direction and support for the concept, and then we'll have to get kind of like all of our ducks in a row about how the process rolls out.
Theater's on.
Thank you. So is, I think you have a general sense of what the board is thinking. Do you need something more formal?
Matt? No. No.
Awesome. Well, that's very exciting. Thank you so much for your contributions to the process. This is very exciting and awesome.
We really, really appreciate all of y'all's support, and thank you so much for helping.
I don't think we would have come if it wasn't because we felt how much support we've gotten, so we really appreciate everything you've done, and this is definitely going to really help our community in many different ways, so, yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just make one comment?
Yes, please. Yeah, come up to the
first of all, thank you.
microphone so we can hear you.
Okay. First of all, thank you, everybody, for doing this and listening to us.
Microphone is up here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
The one thing I wanted to mention is there's already 2 stop signs out of the 4-way stop sign. So there's 2 that are already existing that go from Rainy either way. So the addition would be just 2 stop signs to make it a 4.
Convert it from a two-way stop to a four-way.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda. Kayla, you're it. Okay, we'll wait a minute. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Taylor, we're going to talk about relationship at work policy.
Yes. So just some background, we received some guidance from an employment lawyer or attorney to expand our relatives at work policy to include like romantic relationships and sexual relationships for our employees. So we drafted that policy, and then we got the suggestion of including elected officials for that. And just as a reminder, Eric is the town manager. He's able to approve and implement policies for employees within the employee handbook. However, any policies that relate to you all or impact you all would come to you for your approval and review. And so essentially this policy would be that elected officials are prohibited from having a romantic or sexual relationship with any town employees. And we also would not hire any immediate family members, elected officials. With that, I'll open it up to questions, discussions, that.
Thank you. Do you mind if we go around the room, starting with Evelyn?
It's fine.
Thank you. Meg?
I have no comments on it.
Matt?
Just thank you for being responsive, and Eric for the suggestion of adding elected officials. I think it makes a lot of sense and gives us cover, so appreciate you bringing it to us.
Thank you. I had one question about relatives. And that is what the proposed resolution says, immediate family members of employees and town board members. So my interpretation is you couldn't have 2 siblings working for the town at the same time.
Correct.
And
Yeah, so, yeah, we have a definition, it's within the employee handbook, I didn't think to include it, the agenda packet of what immediate family members are, but it's like brother, sister, fathers, and all the in-laws, in that category, is for immediate family member.
Thank you. And so my question is, I imagine in the past, being a small town, that we've had siblings work for the town. So whoever gets the job first is the only employee. The other one's out of luck.
at this point. I mean, currently, we don't have any immediate family members, that are employed with the town. But if somebody were to apply for a position, then
I have a humorous anecdote to share, and that is my grandfather was a police officer in Gallatin, Tennessee. And he had to keep arresting his family members for moonshining. And one of them was also on the payroll of the town. So he quit the police department, went to work for Public Works for 38 years in the town of Gallatin. So that's one of the reasons that came to mind. What happens if you had that scenario? So, but thank you. Rob.
I didn't think I had any questions, but you brought up a good point there. So I wasn't aware that. So I don't understand, I guess, why two siblings couldn't both work for the town and what that conflict of interest is.
Haley can correct me if I'm wrong, so, they couldn't work in the same department.
Okay.
Which makes sense,
Right.
in the standard. And they also couldn't work in what we call like a generalist department that has oversight and control over other ones, like in administration or HR or finance or safety. Fleet may be included in there. So that, I think that part of the code has probably been in there since, or the policy since I've around. So no immediate family members, in those situations.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. Well, I know I don't agree with it. Because I've worked with many employees that have, with the town of Chapel Hill that are siblings or family members or whatever too. I just question about that.
I also don't agree with that. I mean, again, I've worked with a ton of family members. Some cases reporting up to the same supervisor. I understand having one in administration over the other, that I can see that could be a little tricky, but lateral, I don't care about. I don't think, especially as a small town. I think that's going overboard. It's not a hill I'm gonna die for, but I share Rob's perspective.
appreciate hearing that perspective.
Thank you.
So-
Jen.
Yeah, sorry, do you mind if I just make a quick clarification? Sorry, I'm just floating in the background here virtually. Just wanted to clarify that the town, the employee handbook prohibits immediate family members from working for the town. So that's kind of period. And then beyond that, certain departments further prohibit things that extend beyond immediate family members. So just wanted to clarify that point that, for example, siblings would not be able to work for the town, even if they are in different departments, because they're defined as immediate family members.
I definitely disagree with that. I think that's too strict. I think that's just way too strict.
Eric.
This is one of the most frustrating issues that I have dealt with in my career. I wasn't planning on having to speak at it. I could not disagree more. The number one complaint at the School of Government is about nepotism issues. And when we had the problem with the finance director several years ago, I spent 8 weeks and wrote 29 pages. That would have been a disaster, and some of the biggest problems that local governments deal with is with family members. And as of one of the experts at the League of Municipalities said, it's great for the two members that are working together and their friends, and it is a nightmare for everyone else. Take the finance department. If the finance director has a spouse or a close person in another department, what do you think the likelihood is of the staff saying, there seems like there's something strange going on in that department. And the list, and I can't remember if I shared that with the board when I made the decision, is unbelievably long of the problems when you have immediate family members working with each other. So I realize I have not worked in the private sector. I can tell you it would be a disaster, and I'm not going to change it as far as the employees go. So the board can do what you want from your policy. We've worked for 20-something years and had constant problems. Anyway, I'll just leave it at that. It is just, I do not want to be a pro-nepotism form of government in Hillsborough and erode the credibility that we work so hard, and it is a disaster when you allow that. And I'm sorry, I'm visibly upset, but I just cannot sit here in silence while this issue has come up repeatedly over the years and let people think that I'm gonna be okay with that as I won't.
Thank you, Eric. And kind of the context or the underlying part of that is that on the surface, you know, having a brother working over here and a sister working over here might appear to be fine, but what kind of the hidden complications that creates is untenable from a management perspective. There's the appearance of favoritism or complications that arise from those kinds of relationships that, as the town manager, you feel are just not acceptable.
And I'll say this, and this will be the last thing, is the person I respect most in local government who had a long HR background said that people who are typically reasonable in how they handle things no longer become reasonable when their family and close friends get involved at work. And I don't know how it could be said any better because I have witnessed it for 37 or 38 years in local government when it happens.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Oh, Matt, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just have a question only because I think it's very clear, Eric, and thank you, because I think I was trying to go through it. What's it called? HR, yes, org chart of like, well, I could see how over here that wouldn't work and close relatives. And because we're a small town, I think it's even more potentially exacerbated for conflicts of interest and other things. But the one I'm interested in just kind of gamifying in my head about the policy is when it comes to relatives, it says immediate family members of employees and town board members cannot work for the town. This prohibition extends to all town employees, regardless of when the employees become immediate family members, which thing, marriage, other things. How would that work conceivably if someone ran for office, got elected to this board, and their now immediate family member works for the town? Does that person get let go? How does that work?
That's a great question. It would be really on a case by case basis and kind of what you all decide today, because my thought process, if they were family members before they ran for office and were elected, then they would take this policy into consideration and be like, something's gonna have to happen. Either my spouse or whoever it is gonna have to resign, or I'm not gonna be able to be the elected official. But, and then also the other piece of like the relationships, let's say they're dating and decide to run to be an elected official. It goes back to what you all approve with this policy. If you want to allow that, then that's something we would consider and allow. But if it's something that you're like, this doesn't seem right to have an elected official dating an employee, then we wouldn't do
Yeah,
that.
no, that's what I was trying to avoid with adding the elected officials. I was just kind of curious, but we'll cross that bridge if it ever, I guess, happens at some point. But I would move to approve the resolution.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Megan. Okay, is there any more discussion? May I ask for just one point of clarification, and that is, and I apologize if you stated this already, but the relative section of the proposed resolution is the current policy. What in this paragraph, the sentence really is changing from what is the current policy? Under
With the
relatives.
relatives, I don't believe, I think it's just the elected officials piece of it. Cause we already have like no employees are able to have immediate family members employed.
Okay, so the relative section is the current policy,
Correct.
that the town manager sets. Right?
Right.
Okay, and the second part is about the elected officials.
I'm now confused. I thought you said the elected officials is the new part, but this came out because there was confusion, but if it was already there, now I'm confused about,
Sorry.
do you know what I'm saying? It's like, if the non-elected official pieces were already there, I thought there was new pieces to clarify.
The new piece is, and I can't remember when Eric sent this out in September
It was a while
or
ago.
October, August, and I said, well, shouldn't this apply to us?
Right,
too?
right. No, that I'm setting aside the town. But I thought part of this was some additional language to add greater clarity.
Can I jump in? The town has had a longstanding existing nepotism policy.
Right.
Under the advice of our labor attorney, that was expanded to a relationships at work policy. So we're taking the existing policy, adding on to it, and then the elected officials is another add-on that wasn't contemplated in the employee policy.
Thank you. That's what I thought.
Sorry, jumping in.
No, you're fine.
That's already been adopted and done. That's out the door.
Right. No, I thought that was already in place, but I got, like I said, I got confused. I'm like.
And these
okay.
definitions of immediate family and things like that, those have been in the longstanding nepotism policy.
Yeah, I got that part.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you very much. All right, on to item C. Shannon,
Hello, good evening.
Forest Track Master Plan Amendment.
Yes. I am subbing for Molly this evening. She is not feeling well. I don't know how to do that. Will you help me? So yes, this is the Palior's Tract Master Plan Amendment that has been initiated by an applicant. As a refresher from the public hearing, what is the Palior's Tract? That is the intersection of Highway 86 and I-85. There's currently a Sheetz gas station located on the track, the original tract. The Chrysler Jeep Dodge car dealership. Currently on, in this area is the new Aldi, and then these out parcels here, and this out parcel is vacant. In 2019, the property was annexed and rezoned to entranceway special use with the master plan that is shown. The current master plan allows for car dealerships, retail, and hotel and retail uses. So the application is to amend the master plan to change the land uses to allow for apartments. Some of the applicants suggested conditions were to make 30% of the units affordable to those making 70% of the area AMI, and also just set a maximum building height of 60 feet for the apartment units. As far as staff comments go, the proposal meets the requirements of the UDO. It's consistent with the planned growth pattern, but it is inconsistent with the future land use map, bringing that up because when you all do decide to vote, you do have to add in that consistency statement with your vote as to whether or not it is or is not consistent with the future land use map to go ahead and make that change. The future land use area for this is retail services, which did not originally envision any residential uses. However, the commissioners can still approve this master plan amendment, just stating that making that change to the future land use plan would be consistent with future plans. Staff's recommendation, the applicant and staff, both planning and utilities, have mutually agreed to conditions there in the resolution section of your packet. With these conditions, utility staff has indicated the project is feasible, their concerns have been addressed. And then planning staff's recommended approval is based on our adopted plans and ordinances and feasibility. You know, from a planning and a land use perspective, apartments and commercial, hotel, residential, the impacts they're largely the same. A lot of times apartments do function a lot like commercial. There's just people living in the units versus doing business in the units. The planning board and the board of commissioners, you all do have more discretionary authority to go ahead and make that decision to approve, deny, or approve with conditions. The planning board did make a recommendation to approve with one change. They wanted to see the condition with regard to the amount of time with the deed restriction changed to 99 years instead of 10 years. And there were other items that they had discussed, but that did not get included in the recommendation, which that they wanted to do some integration of the affordable units. And they also discussed some different ratios of affordability. And that was all that I had. That's it. Okay. The applicant is also present, if you have any questions for them.
Okay, and does the applicant want to provide any feedback before we?
Well,
Invite
I think you've all heard the presentation a couple of times, but if you're willing me to go through it again, I'm happy to discuss it more. Or just respond to your questions or concerns that you may have.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll start by going around the table and asking what questions, some of those questions might be for staff and they might be for the applicant as well. So we'll just go around the table. So Kathleen, would you like to start?
I really don't have questions. Once again, seeing prime commercial going to residents and, you know, this comes on the heels of, I've had some long conversations with colleagues in other part of the region, Clayton and Johnson County, but Clayton, they are having structural hardcore issues because they're a bedroom community. And the reason why they're a bedroom community is they don't have the commercial, it's all houses. And I understand we always hear apartment buildings are the same as commercial, except they're not when it comes to commercial development and in the long term, what commercial does in terms of attracting additional commercial and the job creation. And not to mention all of those ancillary and appreciation of those taxes on multiple levels. Hillsborough, you know, we have done this over and over again with Economic Development District. We've done it in multiple areas. And I will not vote for this. And it's for this. This is prime interstate commercial. And the other concern is historically, when you look at houses and particularly multifamily next to interstates, they tend to degrade over time and don't get the upkeep and care and maintenance over time. And while transit-oriented design is absolutely important, you know, one of the issues is displacement. We don't have the displacement issue, but I can see, you know, it's jumping ahead in the long term. But the big thing is this is prime commercial property and needs to be commercial, actual real job producing, tax income, everything producing.
Thank you, Kathleen. Rob, do you have any questions?
Not at the moment. That's right.
Thank you. My thoughts are, pretty much aligned with Kathleen's, comments about, the need for commercial. I feel like the addition of, the 30%, which is a very sizable percentage of, affordable housing, but for 10 years is, just an incentive, doesn't feel, that's in keeping with what we want. I don't think it's, aligned with our guiding principles. Is definitely not aligned with our guiding principles, as I said at the joint meeting recently. So I do not get to vote except for to break a tie, but if I were to vote, I would vote no, because I like it the way it is. We really need to plan for more retail. What we have going in there now is great. We need more of that.
Got a question for you, Shannon. In the resolve clause in section 3, your presentation mentioned the 30% of AMI, or 30% of the units being set aside for those making 70% or less of AMI. But in section 3, it says that or 10% of the market units affordable for those making 60% or less. Which one is correct?
I believe there was conversation with the applicant and the planning board on basically that the applicant could make either of those work.
Actually will. So I share some fairly similar concerns with Commissioner Ferguson in terms of taking what we not that long ago designated as commercial. And I'm only willing to make the change from commercial to residential if I think it's really good. I think the 30% of units being affordable to those making 70% or less definitely gets me there a lot more than the 10% of units making 60% or less, because I ultimately think it'd be the 10%, not the 30%. But the 70% AMI is higher than what was initially brought to us, though I would prefer it to be at 80. So the ratio would have to change to get my vote and support, as well as the deed restriction. Those two things, I think, in tandem would move me to a yes.
And Matt, thank you for clarification. The deed restriction for 99 years instead of 10 years.
That's correct.
Thank you. Megan.
I agree with my fellow commissioners about this property, and one other thing that I had looked at that I'll just bring up is how the county has zoned the adjacent neighborhoods or areas to this property, in that I just would like to see that be commercial, because that's also what is that neighbor to this property. So also the deed restriction being only 10 years, I would not approve for that either. It would have to be substantial in the 99-year frame. Those are the only two extra comments to what the rest of the commissioners have mentioned.
Thank you, Megan. Evelyn?
I feel the same way, and I felt the same thing from the very beginning, but I try to keep an open mind. But I agree with Kathleen and with Chris about the commercial. I think it should be a commercial. It was supposed to be in the beginning, and I think we need the commercial.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to reflect on any of this feedback?
Sure. You know, if the belief is that it has to be commercial, and again, it's zoned for hotel, the vast majority of what we're talking about. So you're basically comparing a hotel to apartments. You know, that's really the comparison we're making here. I think any retail developer will tell you that rooftops drive bringing in more retail. And so I think the existing, I have letters, I didn't share them, but the existing developers of the community are in favor of the project. So that's another point. As relates to the 99 years versus 10 years. You know, I think I made it known to Shannon that I don't have a hard feel on that. When I've done this, 2 other times, it's been asked for 10 years, not 99 years. So, I just felt odd obligating the land for that time, although financially it's really not gonna make a difference to me. And then to, Councilmember Hughes's comments, I wasn't exactly sure if you want 30% of the units at 70%, or you wanted 30% of the units at 80%. Again, either of those options are fine with me.
Good. Matt, would you like to just clarify the question, your perception on that?
It, of the way it's stated in the resolution, it would be 30% at 70% or less.
Is that clear to you? What?
Yeah, if that's, so if I'm being asked, would I accept that condition of 30% to 70%, the answer is yes, that's what I originally proposed. And then, would I accept the deed restriction to be 99 years instead of 10 years? The answer is yes. And then just as it relates to, employees, you know, a site like this would have 6 full-time employees after the construction and all that type of thing is done as well. And I would, you know, this is not the land that is up on 86. This is the land behind it.
Thank you. Shannon, can I ask a question regarding the master plan that was approved and the special entry? What are the options for the property owner in terms of, if not hotel, what other options are without additional modification to the master plan?
So hotel, retail, restaurant, basic service type uses.
Okay, so it's not just hotel, it's all that entire, all the remaining parcels could be used for all those things on that menu of
The commercial,
pre-approved.
yeah, commercial uses.
Great, thank you. Okay, so it sounds like there's not consensus to move forward with your request.
Well, I just have a question for my fellow commissioners. I mean, if we in section 3 struck the or 10%, et cetera, and bumped the deed restriction from 10 to 99 years. Are there 3 commissioners that would do that?
In my
Or
opinion, a bedroom community, what we're doing is, you're right, it's rooftops. That commercial will go to Mebane and outside of Hillsborough. That, once you're a bedroom community, it's almost impossible to reverse that unless you somehow get more land, which in our case, we would have to go into rural buffer in areas where we are committed not to. So we are restricted between the water usage and available commercial land. We're getting to the point of, is our direction going to be a bedroom community, or are we still going to be able to do that 60-40? It is interstate. There is absolutely nothing I can think of conceivably that would make me want to change my mind of moving this commercial property to anything but commercial. We've got one shot to use this for commercial. We go into residential, that's it.
but I'm also looking at getting nearly 80 units of affordable housing as well.
I understand that. We could do mixed use, which has been the holy grail. Absolutely, but that's not what's been offered or on the table. We've gotten all sorts of things of maybe we'll get it, maybe we're not. But bottom line is, once you're a bedroom community, you will always be a community for decades. So I am not willing to throw in the towel and make this a bedroom community.
Okay, Matt, can we help you out here? Rob, do you feel that the proposed changes to 99 years, is that enough to make you move it from commercial to residential?
No, it's not. I'm in agreement with Commissioner Ferguson on this. I do like many elements of this proposal, and certainly having more, affordable housing is one of them. I do like, I'm torn because I do believe that, residential and commercial can work in places, and I think it's good to have people living in areas that, that are, you know, generally retail or commercial sort of areas. But I'm not convinced that this is the place for it. As Commissioner Ferguson, noted prior, that is a, you know, textbook commercial district. And I think if we, go away from, you know, supporting our goal of whether it's 60-40 or having this balance of commercial and residential, it's just a slippery slope, and I just don't feel like this is the place that we want to do that. So.
Thank you. Your comments resonate with me as well, and I think they're, so what I'm hearing so far is that this is not the place for that, but there may be other ideas that you might be able to come up with. And kind of the one thing that sticks out in my mind is the observation that because we are growing, our residential is growing faster than anywhere else in Orange County. We're twice the growth rate of residential as Chapel Hill. So we have to make it count. We have to find the right thing for that land. And that's kind of what's sticking in my mind. Matt, would you support if the affordable housing for 99 years and the AMI changed?
Yeah.
You would be for it?
I would.
Megan, your thoughts on commercial versus?
I'm still, also in favor of commercial for this property. Also just looking at the units in the pipeline, and then also the concerns of the utility department. Those are two other things that stick out in my head to keep this in the commercial area.
Thank you. Evelyn.
Well, we have at the moment 1,532 residential units pending construction. And I really think that's, if you look at the apartments, townhouses, single family townhouses, habitat, which would be about, well, it would be but that would be affordable is what I'm trying to think of. And I think we have enough to deal with already, and we just don't need any more houses, affordable or not. We just don't, we don't have the water and we don't have the sewer capacity. And we keep on, but we happen to be reservoir number 3, and I don't know where that's going to be. I don't know how far back we have to go. Nor could we afford it, unless they're willing to pay for reservoir number 3.
Unlikely, but yeah, thank you. Reservoirs are expensive. Right, thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I was gonna say, Matt, can I ask a question?
Please, you come up to the microphone so we can hear you.
I'm sorry. Can we pull back up the map that shows the master plan? So I just want to ask a question on some of the feedback that I've heard.
Yes.
Mixed use as it relates to this. You can click online, that's fine. So on this parcel, if you took out, you know, I've heard the term mixed use and want more commercial, and of course, like this up here, can everybody see my cursor, by the way?
Yes.
This up here, this is a to be developed retail section. Sheets has been developed, Audi's been developed, this is a future retail section. And then we talked about taking these ones that were designated retail but didn't have any frontage on 86, right? Which is kind of the lesser desirable retail sections. If I was able to structure a deal with the land seller, the Paliorses, to not buy these out parcels that are right up here on old 86, but just focus on this back here where I'm getting, you know, 225 units or something like that. But you're still getting an extra couple retail parcels. Does that change anybody's mind as it relates to this project?
When I'm speaking mixed use, I am speaking of the ideal of what we would love to see, Holy Grail. Retail first floor, then you've got residential above, not where you've got
So,
whole separate pieces. Again, that doesn't allay the concerns of over time, over decades, where apartments near interstates, they tend to not have the maintenance. They don't tend to age well. And it doesn't change. It's prime commercial.
okay. Anybody else who was perhaps considering it, would that change their mind? I know Councilmember Ferguson, when she was nice enough to take my call a few months ago, told me she was against this. So I knew that. And she explained her reasons then, and they've been very consistent, and I can appreciate that. But for those who were debating it on if we put the couple out parcels that are on, what is that, Old 86? 10, on Old 10, on 10. Well,
The old 10.
yeah, the old 10 parcels right here. These out parcels became retail, and we moved our project just to this back area back here. Does that change anybody's mind in terms of the mix between, make it feel like a more mixed use project to them, or change their mind?
To be clear, residential in the back and commercial retail in the front,
Exactly.
as opposed to retail on the first floor and residential on the second and third.
Correct.
That wouldn't change my mind, but if you were wanting to look at something truly mixed use, that would be something that I would certainly consider.
Okay.
No. I really like the idea of this all being commercial, so I'm having a hard time getting over that portion of it. But I also though do like the idea of connecting the people that would live in those apartments to Walmart and then also to our Ridge Walk at some point. So there is some connection there that I do like. Now, when we can connect the apartments behind Walmart to the Ridge Walk is still a question of when that could ever happen, but I would see that somewhere in the next 20-30 years. So I don't know, I definitely like the Holy Grail, as you put it. That mixed use would be the ultimate. Again, I will mention that the county has it zoned out also for commercial and that, and I just feel like that Highway 10 area, maybe today it doesn't look like it's desirable for folks to come off the interstate, but when you look at other towns off the interstate, when you're traveling along, they do, you come off the side and you're like, how close is that Sheets? Well, it's a mile down the road in a lot of other areas, and that's absolutely fine. So we're not looking at Highway 10 being that far of a drive off the interstate, so. I don't know, I sound wishy-washy on it, but I do feel like I'm still strong in the commercial portion of it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Next on the agenda is fiscal year.
I move to,
I'm sorry.
to decline, would that be the motion?
Yeah.
I move to
motion
decline
deny the
to deny the request as presented and as with, I just moved to deny the request. Right?
Yeah, and Evelyn, did you second?
A second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, now moving on to item D on the agenda, fiscal year 26-28 budget planning retreat. That is Eric.
Don't know if there's anything else to add. That was, once again, partnered with staff and Mayor Mark to throw out something for everybody to react to, and feel free to offer changes. So then we make tweaks every year.
February 8th sounds fabulous to me. I'm going to be out for part of February, but, wait, the eighth, February eighth. Okay, I'm sorry, the eighth is actually on a Thursday. Is it? Is it Saturday? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong freaking year. Sorry
Sorry,
about
Kathleen,
that.
may I interrupt and say, while you're looking at your calendar and everybody else.
It still works. It still works.
Saturday,
Yeah.
February eighth for budget retreat?
Right now.
Works for me.
Works for me.
Oh, wait. I lied. I will not be here on that Saturday. I will be in DC. I'm being nominated for National Association of Regional Councils, and I will be in DC for that too. The eighth through the 13th.
8th through the 13th.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
And Eric, would you like to look at like the next Saturday?
The backup date for staff was flipping through and they can maybe as the 22nd, does the 22nd.
Rock and roll.
Good for
I
me.
think we're gonna run into
February.
the same problem no matter what Saturday in February, because I know for work, I'm out of town the following 2 Saturdays. So I think it's whichever commissioner we're.
Okay. Is everybody else good for the 22nd?
Second. I'm good.
Eric, what are your?
That's totally, I just knew that the two dates that would work for staff are the 8th and the 22nd. If those don't work, we just need to regroup, because if we do it later, I didn't. I guess another option we could look at would be the 1st. I don't know if that's doable, but staff could go back and regroup. Why don't we do
Would you
that?
like to do? Okay.
Yeah, and because it may be what we produce and what can be put on the agenda. There may be more or less depending on whether we move forward or backwards, so, but, we'll come back with some dates, either via email or the next month's, agenda. For that direction. So then the next thing would be your thoughts on the draft agenda that was in front of you.
I think the agenda looks great.
I thought it looked great.
That's great.
Great. Yep.
Oh, and while we've got everybody here, before I go back to staff, would February 1st work?
Yep.
Okay, and then what about, what's like the first weekend in March?
Yes.
March 1st, so February 1st or March 1st?
Yes.
Yes, for both.
Okay, we'll see if one of those work.
March 1st, or February 1st is a no for me.
February 1st is a no for you.
Yeah, March 1st is okay.
Good. That's my birthday and anniversary, February 1st. It's probably the same. I've had a bunch of retreats over the years on my birthday and anniversary, so I'm in the doghouse, yeah. Yeah. All right, we'll see if we can make March 1st.
March 1st.
Chris, come hang out with us.
Yeah.
Does that make you nervous doing it so late in the year?
Available on March.
Well, yeah, anyway, glass half full, there may be things, we may be able to provide more information on March 1st. And if there's things that we need to do, to get to you earlier, like a lot of times we'll do the sort of the budget preview or the financial, we may do that in late January if we make it work. And then if there's some like smaller feedback items, but we'll figure something out. So, all right.
Thank you. And do you want to continue with the other questions?
Facilitator.
Oh, yeah, lay it on me.
I like having a facilitator. I would like to use some red teaming in terms of anonymization, some of the weighted and depending on what you want, maybe some other red team tools.
Okay. If you have suggestions on specific tools or on specific topics, that would be helpful.
Well,
too.
yeah, I've got to do, I've been noodling, but I don't have.
Okay.
There's a couple things that I think alternative features, but again, it's a little bit too early. Have a little bit more, clarity on, this is too broad right now, except for the, anonymous, thing like share, some of the, the anonymization, triple filter, that kind of.
Eric, can you remind us, last year, you did the facilitation, correct?
I don't know that's actually, we sort of everybody took turns leading whatever their exercise was.
I remember the signs with our faces.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that was part of the icebreaker, situation.
Well, I thought last year.
I have to admit, that was
great,
classic.
so, I'm happy to do whatever we did last year, that more than sufficient. I find, Kathleen, I'm push back just a little bit on the facilitator part. Unless the facilitator really knows us, it's almost, it can be an impediment to being.
Ain't no hill I'll die for.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too, Mark, I didn't, I don't know if but I feel like I benefited the year that that we utilized a facilitator, but. Do you have an opinion on that, Eric? Facilitator, no facilitator? I mean, I thought you did a great job last time, and so.
It just depends if there is and this may also tie in, so I'm thinking out loud, so with that, as you all know, that means I'm wrong most of the time, so, I encourage you to push back. I think the facilitator is more helpful if there's like a really tough issue, like we're trying to work through something and we need somebody to do that, whether it's the red teaming tools. So the trick is find like what might fall in on this agenda where that would be helpful.
Right.
So, because we don't want to be doing stuff just to be doing
Right.
it. And right now, we still don't have a clear picture for what tough situations we're going to be giving you, and it may be too early. And maybe we do those later. So, usually we provide you updates. We'll try to figure out what are the tough decisions we need guidance on. And then if we need a facilitator or use different tools to help us hack through it, then we would do that.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the use of annual 2-penny earmark, I mean, that is a classic red team opportunity. And that in terms of alternative features or. Actually, that's the one I think I would probably lean towards. And having groups of alternative features, so it's not just 4 scenarios, but maybe 8 or 12, depending, when you have everybody.
Okay, we actually talked, is Stephanie in here?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you follow any of that? So they're talking about wanting to really take a deep dive into the 2 cents on climate and sustainability. So my understanding, we almost didn't even put this on the agenda because I thought things were sort of laid out. But if the board's going, no, we really want to dive back into how we're spending the 2 cents,
Well,
we can do.
I'm not
happy to do
it's one of those, if we were, I'm just saying, that's a type of issue that would make sense, because not only do you hash out and really do get those risks and opportunities, but at the end of it, you've got your narrative ready to go to communicate. So you've got your full story, and, depending on, what things, and given the number of people, you can have up to 12 scenarios really within an hour or less hashed out, and then looking at it, we'll ensure the scenarios make, we go for it. So that's the kind
So
of,
that was a for instance, not necessarily let's do that. I guess. I apologize. Thank you.
exactly.
While we're talking on the topic, we already have a plan laid out for what the 2 cents is going for, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, for the last 2 months, I've been giving you guys transportation updates. I'm happy to come every month and give you transportation updates because I'm constantly working on transportation projects, but I'm here to tell you there's not gonna be like a big decision point in February of this year. Like with the train station, you know where we are on that. You know where we are on Churton. You know where we are on the roundabouts. We're entering things into spot. I'm working on as many sidewalks as I can possibly get in town. It's all in the strategic plan. It's all in the comprehensive plan. So I don't really need you to set more priorities. We need to stay focused on the priorities we have.
And this was.
And then with
an
climate
example.
and sustainability is similar in the sense that last year at the retreat, we did a sustainability focused agenda item where I explained that the money that we have been putting aside for the last couple of years is basically being held so that we can do everything we want to do to get net zero ready at the train station. And that is still true. And every year that it takes to get this train station permitted, the costs are going up. So we need more now than we needed 3 years ago because we're still waiting for permits. And I will tell you the other sustainability priorities that we have in our strategic plan, like conversion to LED streetlights, that stuff is kind of already moving and we're finding ways to work it in the budget. So if the retreat is about the budget, I don't have any big asks for you for this coming budget, other than for us to just kind of keep, we're making progress. And so there's your sustainability update right there. But I do know we have a UDO rewrite coming up, and we have parking studies, and we have market studies, and more than anything, we have water and sewer needs that need to be addressed. So if you're asking my opinion, it might be time better spent to
Again,
focus on
that
some of
was
those other
truly
things.
meant as an example,
Yeah.
not as a.
Thank you.
So what I hear is that we will, as far as the facilitator goes, unless something really gnarly comes up, we'll fly without a facilitator.
Yeah.
But we are gonna look for opportunities on certain items where it makes sense to get some of the tools to maximize the amount of participation and creativity and poking holes in things we think may be a good idea or make them better.
Yeah.
So, and it's probably too early to know exactly
Right.
what those might be. But we'll work on that as we get closer. And if all the board members, if there's something that you feel that is really kind of maybe a tough issue we need to hack through, definitely point that out, because you may be the first ones to notice it before we will. So,
Okay, thank you. Anything else for us to feedback on this?
is in this room okay? We just,
Yeah.
we would just rearrange it and, we're sitting different and all that stuff. So, all right, thank you.
Can we have staff sit with it? Cause I always liked it best when we had staff and us together.
Yeah, I think, did we not do that last year?
I think we did.
Yeah, we
It was one of
always
those that I was having a mind blip on if we did, and I just wanted to make sure that we did.
Yep, and we always do that. But yep, good to hear the reinforcements.
Okay, ready to move on to item E, hot topics. Safe routes to school. I guess Nish will be coming to do that.
The workshop, yeah.
Awesome.
And I will have to be calling into that. I will be in Alabama. Just dealing with the aging parent thing.
I will also be calling in to that one, so, at least I hope so, I'll be out of country, so hopefully I'll be able to connect.
Will we have quorum?
All right,
Yeah, well, yeah.
Rob and Evelyn, we will plan to be here before.
Yeah.
Or as far as I know.
Awesome. And written reports are in the packet. Okay, that takes us to updates. And so reminder, we have 45 days worth of updates to provide because we skipped over it the last
Oh,
time.
Lord, and I forgot.
Um, I'm prepared with mine. It's a little bit longer than normal.
Mine will
Do
be,
you want to, you
I'll
want to
be
be
very
last?
quick because frankly, I've got some, but they're sitting at my
I
desk.
almost sent out an email to remind everybody that that was your last, month and a half.
Very quickly, you've already heard one of it is,
Okay.
is that I'm being nominated to represent North Carolina, South Carolina regional councils for the national level. I'm really excited about what we can bring back. A regional, so much of what we do and what we deal with is at a regional level. And on the housing, committee that, for the region, we've got our preliminary, group pulled together, more to come on that, but on each of the focus areas, where we're making progress on getting those committees together, and that, again, that's gonna be opportunities for, folks to participate in a lot of different ways, but, again, I'm very excited that we get the opportunity to look at, housing and sustainability and transportation, just to name of the few focus areas regionally, so that we can hopefully avoid situations like the classic example is Apex and Cary. Both independently wanted to put their dense properties closest to RTP, except that one abuts the other, so you had high density right next to low density, as opposed to having a dense center and pulling together, that if they had talked to one another, probably would have worked out a little bit better. So some of the things that we're looking at the COG and we're getting funding, for and made progress, which thank you, Eric, for supporting, is we're moving on that Vision 2050 regional planning, which is, not, I want to, you know, not telling people what to do, but looking at how do we not blend's for the wrong word, but taking our individual municipal plans, but looking at how can we optimize them at that regional level again, so that you've got greater flow of resources that are collectively, we end up with the region that it's better flow. We make better use of our resources, lower costs, et cetera. And the ultimate goal, it just increases the quality of living for everyone. But I'm really excited about that. There's I don't know if you guys got your email, but the league just put out, they're doing a webinar, and I think it's tomorrow, if I remember correctly. On the ETJ, there's no cost to it.
December.
Oh, it's December, okay, I've got my dates wrong. But anyhow, check out that, I am signed up for that, and I did share, about resident-owned mobile home parks. That's something that we don't have an economy of scale unless we had multiple property owners that would work together, but it's something, again, over time, that I hope that within our county, it will help our, residents keep permanent affordability for those who are in manufactured and, mobile homes. For the partnership, we've got a meeting coming up, so I can't tell you that. Last I shared with you guys already that charter is being shifted and changed. I think that's about it. I will be bringing back, because I got some information on some different kind of grant support, but I'm still going through it. It may or may not be helpful, but that's the file I still need to go through.
Thank you, Kathleen. Rob?
Let's see, it's really from Parks and Recreation, meeting. So Parks and Recreation Board does not meet in November and December, so last month, though, somebody shared with us that new recycling bins or units have been ordered for all the parks, so we'll see those arrive sporadically throughout the rest of the fiscal year and beyond. And that our floating kayak launch, where you go? Launch. Floated away in our last storm. So the water rose so much in Lake Ben Johnson that it literally rose up above those giant metal, what do you call them?
Pylons.
Ears.
Yeah, something else. See, it's some
They're called spuds.
spuds.
That's a big
Rose up
thing,
over
though.
the spud and floated down over the dam and into the river, and Public Works and probably many other people had to pull back out. And so it's in dry dock storage now, for the time being, but, we do not currently have a kayak launch.
It's
Things how we broken, unrepairable. Oh, broken and unrepairable.
Does insurance cover that?
We're checking into it.
Yeah,
We're checking in
That's
into
such a.
that, but Terry feels confident that we can get another one installed.
All the wetlands are still intact there. And yeah, so that was kind of exciting. And then really, again, just to praise all of our town staff that helped kind of reopen after all of our storms, how quickly and efficiently they did it this last time. I think it's worth noting. They're getting better and better with that every time. But we really want to again say thank you to making that happen so fast. Have a climate, the next climate council meeting is scheduled for November 21st. So I don't have any update for that yet, but next time.
Thank you, Ron. I have several things to just mention very briefly. One is that, you may have seen that the, Okanagan Village, Replica Village won the Duffy Landscape Preservation Award at the statewide conference. And so I attended, with, Beverly Payne and, Bryce, the co-chair of the tribe, and several other couple members to, receive that award. So that was really cool. There's Rocky Mountain at the Mill that has been renovated there. So that was very nice of them. NPO was on the 22nd of last month. We talked about the Transportation Improvement Plant Program tip update. We talked about the 2055 Metropolitan Transportation Plan again, and nothing too remarkable on those topics. I attended the Chamber annual gala and award ceremony on the 26th. Had a great presentation from Mark and Megan Overbay, who own Big Spoon Roasters. So it was nice to hear their story and sample their products. I attended the inaugural relaunch of the Hillsborough Merchants Association meeting on the 29th. I thought that went well. We had about 20 merchants show up for that out of about 96 total, and that's exactly what we were anticipating. So I think that's off to a good start. Ribbon cutting for the Dixon Allstate Agency on the 30th. Attended the Fairview Community Watch meeting on the 4th of this month, where we had a preview of the traffic proposal, as well as an update from the county and the state about the landfill analysis in Fairview. And Stephanie, maybe I'd heard this before, but I was surprised again to hear from Fanny that the town actually shipped land trucks to that space to dump garbage. I thought it was more of an ad hoc landfill, not maybe like an official kind of landfill. So that was alarming once again. That process is, there's a report being made. It'll be reviewed by the state. So I think in the next maybe 2 or 3 months, a report will be available for us to preview on what the state's plans are for remediating those areas.
So I know that
Some of
that
which
was-
includes town-owned property as well as county-owned property and stuff.
I know the last meeting, because that was the one meeting I could not attend, but, at the last, so is the state going to actually remediate? Because the last time when we were pressing them as a community, they were not prepared to commit to remediation.
Yes, so I think as they've gotten further into their analysis, they kind of previewed what their 2 options. One is, gosh, don't ask me to remember, that was like 3 weeks ago, feels like. Anyway, so there are 2 options, and that will be further in the report that we'll get. So, and it does include the town-owned portion of that land. So, yes. Yeah, I think there's a light version, maybe remediating spots versus dig it all out, which is super expensive. Oh, and there were no remarkable findings from they had 26 wells dug across the property where they're monitoring, in real time.
That's interesting,
ongoing,
because
but
the
they're-
data that they showed before, I mean, they didn't have the heavy metals that they expected. But there were some findings that I thought were concerning.
That is not what I heard the other day. It was not a worst case scenario.
Well, no, it was not worst case, and I don't know where it ranks, in terms of Superfund for being an extreme. But I remember some of the findings being, there were not every well, of course, but there were some that I'd hoped they were gonna take a closer look at. I would be nervous.
Okay, we'll find out in the next couple months on that. It has been a long process, so, and the Fairview community is obviously frustrated for how long this years it's taken. I had the mayors and chair meeting, last Friday, and kind of one takeaway to share with you about that meeting is that, the mayors of Carrboro and Chapel Hill and, Chair Bedford, the Orange County Board of Commissioners, are hearing a lot about people who are nervous and concerned about the outcome of the election from the perspective of people being concerned what's going to happen at the local level. And so we feel that there's a need to help emphasize the role of local government in, people's day-to-day lives. And, we would like to maybe create a short video that helps kind of convey that message, that where the rubber meets the road, where people really experience government is at the local level. And we're here to continue doing what we have always been doing, which is supporting our residents and our visitors and our businesses. So Carrboro is going to take the lead on creating that video, and we're going to shoot it the next week or two. Yesterday was Veterans Day, and so I participated in the ceremony yesterday. Just of note, Lee Haviland, who was a longtime and original member of the committee, passed away in September, so it's sad that he wasn't with us. And then our guest speaker was Captain Alfred Scott McLaurin, PhD, a retired submariner with the Navy and polar explorer, been to the Titanic twice, which is pretty cool. And his list of accomplishments is as long as your arm. But my takeaway and Rob was there to hear this, is that he made the first sea transit of the Northwest Passage. So under the ice in a submarine, and only 2 ships have done that to date. He was the first. But the second one was that at the North Pole, they surfaced when they were at the North Pole submarine and held a baseball game at the North Pole, where the pitcher's mound was on the North Pole. And so the curious thing is that when you play that game, you're crossing the international date. So a fly ball to the right field might be tomorrow, and if you hit it to the left, it's yesterday. And so there's very comical and surreal kind of description of a baseball game across multiple time zones.
So first takes a full.
Yes, it does. And finally, our SWAG meeting, Megan, has been canceled, so we're going back to the drawing board to try and do that. I'm not sure we'll get it scheduled before the end of the year. So that's Matt.
Thank you for reminding me about Veterans Day. I thought it was interesting when I looked at Chapel Borough last week, and we were the only local government that I think actually officially recognized Veterans Day with the office closure and that sort of thing. So if that is true, I'm glad that we carry that distinction here in Hillsborough. Tomorrow, the Legislative Policy Committee for the League is meeting to finalize our legislative agenda for the upcoming legislative session. MPO is next week, and Visitors Bureau is also next week. So my updates.
And regarding the legislative agenda, I don't recall receiving a message from the league about that this year. Has anything changed?
No, so it's a process. The process is such that we had listening sessions. Now the committee is going to start narrowing city vision. Before city vision is when we will get the full slate that we will vote on. And then the final vote is at city vision.
But our opinions will still be solicited for.
It's
Continue
on, yeah.
Great. We want to make sure we weren't.
Yes.
No, keep
Okay.
it coming.
This is whittling down from the listening sessions that we've done, and we have a group for A list and a B list, and we're going through that. Nope.
No?
Just
Whoa.
just A list and B list. So we'll be talking through that for a couple hours tomorrow.
Great, thank you. Megan.
So in the last month and a half, actually, my meetings have been postponed or canceled, so I don't have a whole lot to update. I will mention next Wednesday, the 20th, the UNRB has sent invitations to you all. I do believe there is possibly a conflict with some of you with another event or.
Arbor Day.
Oh, that's what, okay, yep. But the UNRPA will be giving a presentation, as well the Department of Water Resources, on just setting up what the next steps are to update the Falls Lake rules. I will be going to that meeting. Unfortunately, I'll be missing Arbor Day. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Evelyn.
Well, I have a fire department meeting coming up. I don't think I have anything to say about the last one. That was ISO results. And I think Jeff K, you may know, is in New Mexico studying fire, something about putting fires out or something?
Yeah, I did not know what type of training it was, but I was curious.
I think it's fire, how to fight a fire. I don't know, they need some help.
Thank you, everyone.
That's all, I mean, I can go into other details about how many people should go to Detroit to see if the cars, see if fire truck's okay, but I don't think you want to hear that. That was a good part of a meeting.
Thank you. And town manager,
No reports for me. I think staff, have some updates that I was.
verbal updates in addition to what's,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, just progress on a couple of high priority items for the board. Highway 86 bids are going out this week, opening in early December, so we'll have information to inform the budget for this year, make sure we're in a good place. UDO rewrite bids also going out this week to be opened in January. Hope to have a contractor by March timeframe for that. We are narrowing down a contract for a code enforcement contractor that the board funded for this year. And so we'll be sharing information on kind of the education process and the start of enforcement. Parking study, after a very, very significant delay from NCDOT's Office of Inspector General, we are back and starting the parking study. We have missed our fall data collection window, so we've shifted the study to hit the spring high parking season, which means the deliverable to the board will be likely pushed to next fiscal year. But we're meeting with the consultant and have gotten that back on track. And then lastly, I believe Eric shared this, but Public Works and Utilities and fleet staff that previously deployed to Asheville are leaving Friday to do a second deployment in Hendersonville. So we'll have a crew gone for the next week. They'll be back for the week of Thanksgiving, and then a slightly different crew will be going back out. So just sharing those few updates.
thank you.
And there's been, if y'all are, there's a bunch of, employment fairs going on. Land of Sky has been publicizing them. So if it's, the more we can support that, word of mouth and that sort of thing. Because that's a key issue, is helping those folks have employment so they can get homes.
Okay, if there are no other reports, then the written reports in the packet, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Kathleen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we can take a little 5-minute break.